Well, hello, hello, hello. Something has been sitting off when it came to Gabe Ellis, the FBI knowing the intel they had on him when it came to Karina McClurkin's case, Delphi, and there's an individual on here many of you probably have seen this Jimmy Johns dude comment on some of my videos. Well, Jimmy had another name he was going by on Facebook. And about 2011, 2012, there was a 40 indicted in drug ring ran from Indiana prisons. And one of the main individuals that went into protective custody that ran and operated that whole operation was none other than Gabriel Ellis out of Westville Correction. Turned federal informant and got over 40 people indicted. And what is really weird about this, there's multiple guards that were in this operation that did not get charged, but the inmates that were all also running this drug operation from within the prisons got charged. It even says right here on two inmates housed at different Indiana prisons used cell phones smuggled in by guards to run a drug ring that distributed meth and heroin, according to a federal indictment that charged 40 people in connection with this scheme. It's just, when I go down and reading this, they said it alleges that multiple guards were involved with this scheme, but yet multiple guards did not get arrested, jailed. But there's an individual that actually names some high up guards that Gabe Ellis was involved with right there at Westville. The same exact location where they have Richard Allen being held now for protective custody has had this drug ring, this exact same drug ring that's taken more than one lives, has had operations within the IDOC state prisons. And if you look up 2023, there is still active issues with IDOC, correctional officers, and corruption. And you think Richard is safe being held in state prison when an individual like Gabe Ellis, that's had more than one life under his feet, dead now, when he's actually had high up ranking individuals under his control at the exact same prison where Richard is being held now. I was reading through this whole thing and I was kind of pressed to look this direction when it came to him getting his Saxonite ranking and how he became and had enough power. It was thousands that he had on his books instead of when he was busted back, I think it was like 2011. Instead of taking his money, and like most busts, you would take the money and it would be turned over and given to the local state. They would take any money that was dealing, um, the meth, the dealing, any of the money that was obtained and was gotten through the drugs, they would actually take that, and the individual, the dealer like Gabe, should not have had thousands on his books. Instead of taking the money, they allowed him to retain the money that he had on him, and whatever thousands he had in his books, he was able to take with him to prison. Using these thousands of dollars, he actually, from prison, started an operation using this exact same drug ring and started an operation through the SAXON while in prison. And there were some high ranking individuals. This individual, in a message sent to me, this individual, if we could ever get his true identity, I think knows a lot more. I mean, a lot more when it comes to Gabe Ellis and that ring, that operation, than they have yet even spoke of so far. But one thing that is got me really questioning is, as an FBI informant myself on Karina, there was another individual that we were actually watching as a suspect there in Kokomo that goes back friends and associated with another killer, Alan Tinker. He helped set his roommate up to be murdered. Curtis Beck, I'm talking about you, you low life little fat fuck. Want to be uh white nationalist? You're nothing but a little punk. Little bitch made punk at that. Yeah. But yeah, Curtis Beck ended up as a suspect that was being watched by the FBI, being allowed to set his roommate up 96 days after Delphi. His roommate was willing to talk, let be known what he knew about Alan and Gabe Ellis's role. I feel not just in Karina's, but Delphi. He was wanting to talk. And for him wanting to talk, they could not allow it. It wasn't about the drugs, that operation. It was about the children's cases. I think just like Nicole Bowen being killed, it wasn't over the drugs, that operation. It was what they knew when it comes to children's case. When they were wanting to speak up, be heard, and let it be known, I think that is the real reason why Jeremy and why Nicole was really killed. Silence. They could not afford the truth to be let know. But what really makes me really wonder, with this being a federal operation, and no sooner the bust happened, this individual was letting it be known that Gabe Ellis was moved into protective custody. Within and the rest of his stint of his uh like 2011, 2012, when he got busted, the rest of his stint behind bars was in protective custody. Did he turn federal witness informant to get this operation taken down? Was given thousands in return. But then, if you have a federal informant like Gabriel Ellis that shows up involved in a case where you've got feds that were looking at the Sons of Odin issue as a threat to life, you wouldn't want a individual that you guys worked with, FBI, DEA, years back in a major sting operation within IDOC, staff, and multiple IDOC state prisons. That operation, one of your big tickets, goes on to kill more than one child in more than one case. But yet, let's not look here. Don't look good back on us. Look what we allowed. I still, it makes me wonder. There was something this whole time with knowing what the FBI was already looking at, the militia, the Sons of Odin issue, months before Delphi. There had to be something Gabe Ellis had over them or that operation. They cannot risk getting let know. With so much information, so much hardcore direct information that I was providing them on Gabe Ellis's role, involvement in more than one case, but yet for them to remain silent, remain still, refuse to act. This whole time, something has been back in my head. Everybody thought he was just a local snitch. I'm wondering if the federal level that he had a role in more than one case on drugs being busted at the federal level. And in order for these drug rings and individuals to be hit, you cannot hit Gabe Ellis on any case that he was involved with. Otherwise, it would risk the whole more than one drug case that this federal operation was working on would go to hell. If one of their main key informants was hit for murdered and missing killed cases, it would not look good. And like we're seeing now, look at the massive pile of horseshit we got right now going on like Delphi case. It's showing up where you've got videos, interviews, days and days and days and days missing, no longer there. Oops, we don't have this, we don't have that. Oh, we got this, but we don't have this. This, there's been something in the back of my head that has not set right. And when I've been piecing together the 40 indicted on the drug ring operation, and it's a federal investigation that went on, the purported ring leader, Oscar Perez, was an inmate at another prison. Justin Adler even used the smuggle phones to hold conference calls with a third man to discuss pulling their financial resources. I think this third man that's talked about in this investigation was Gabe Ellis. It just, after about 300 FBI agents fanned out across the state and made an arrest, a judge ordered them to remain in custody. It just, there's something that really sits off about me. But if you look up 2012, 40 indicted in drug ring run from Indiana prisons, it would be a August 23rd, 2012 uh, Associated Press news article. And I'm sitting here looking, the more and more I look into this, the more and more it's kind of got me puzzled where what I'm hearing, it was Gabe Ellis was one of the main ones involved and had some high ranking Individuals right there at his own facility paid off and was allowing certain things to take place. If there were so many of these IDOC employees, and you can still find to this day where Westville, others, IDOC, you can still find direct connections to DOC employees back to either former or current IDOC employees that are friends with individuals that go back in and around this Kokomo drug ring. I'll be doing a video on this, and I'll be showing up some current individuals that are IDOC correctional employees, both past and present, that are sitting correctional officers, and the friendships they have with this Kokomo ring remain to this day openly able to be seen. If you know who to look for and what to look for, what names to look for, and you got current correctional officers sitting friends with individuals in this Kokomo drug ring, Gabe Ellis' little buddies, his other dealers, the ones he was operating with. When you have IDOC employees friends with this drug ring, still to this day, there's some major issues going on. But it still has me kind of dumbfounded. There has got to be a informant file somewhere with Ellis name on it when it comes to federal wise. Either he's got some shit on them, or he was one of their big informants. But there is some reason why even the feds refuse to go after Gabe Ellis. And I feel it's a secret little hidden off. Yeah, just like Karina's grandmother said, Jerry, for years, they care more about getting the drugs, the dealers, than they do about getting charges on individuals involved in Karina's case. Jerry said that for years. They're more interested in getting the drugs than they are getting killers off the street. Why they're so interested in get these drugs off the streets and letting these killers do their thing is you got to keep in mind that's where their money comes from. A lot of that money, the thousands that are taken out of bank accounts and thousands of dollars, that's shared. Any agency that was involved, from local, state, and federal, these agencies take that thousands of dollars, millions of dollars that they get in, and they get a certain percentage of that back to their own agencies' pockets, get filled with whatever money, assets that they get from forfeitures. It goes back to these agencies, these cops' pockets in the very end. And yes, it does. But it's just, there's got to be something. And when I'm looking more and more into this, and when I had an individual that was on a Facebook message with me, I'm going to share some of these messages with in my community group, and it's going to kind of get me where I'm at now and where I'm kind of showing what I am. There's some tidbits back 2022. This individual dropped, and I knew that the wording and how things were worded and said were done in such a way, and then they're like, I used to have Facebook communications with you a while back. This individual admits that they had a major role in the drug community, dealing community, and knows some inside information, some detailed inside information, but it was only to the point where I'm going to give a little slither here, a little bit of slither here. I'm going to tell a little bit more here, a little bit more here, but I'm going to leave out this context. I'm not going to tell you about this. I'm not going to talk about that. It's one of the most annoying things that's been up lately. If you're going to talk, then by all means, spell everything, say everything. But if you're going to come in comments, you're going to come on my messenger, this whole cryptic, pretty much trying to fill me out what I know, and then to what extent I know, and then try to only give me tidbits of information that I could easily find, like Google searches, by all means. Don't waste your time. But it's just, the more and more I'm thinking about it, if he played a major role in the 2012 40 indicted on drug ring operation from Indiana prisons, if he was one of the main informants, the third guy that was talked about on pulling their resources together, their financial resources to get this operation going, notice the third guy's name, Gabriel Ellis, was left out. That third individual was a smuggled in cell phone by a guard. Notice they didn't give their name. It makes you wonder, if you press Gabriel Ellis's name in there, Oscar Perez, and then this other individual, I'm like, I'm going to share the screenshots of this whole column, like this whole news column. There's a lot of these individuals, like, they're admitting to multiple correctional officers being involved, but yet only one correction officer was ever fired and arrested. Only one. But even in this column right here, they actually says, in this column, like this article I'm reading, it said that multiple were involved, but only one was ever indicted for it. Why? And like I said, if you look up at 2023, corruption when it comes to drugs, this operation within IDOC, you will see a 2023 issue. This drug ring, this operation has had active hand in IDOC correction facilities, more than one. You've got friends of guards sitting friends with dealers. I'm going to start breaking this open, and when you got active guards showing right there that they're working for Indiana Department of Corrections at this facility or this facility, then you're seeing friends, multiple dealers and multiple uh, raids, setting friends with these individuals that are IDOC employees. I think it's about time to show this and expose this and all in full context and full detail. If these IDOC employees don't have anything to hide, then, well, you should have nothing to hide, nothing to be afraid of it being exposed or being shown when you're openly being friends with these dealers and individuals in and around this drug ring. And so many people think, oh, an IDOC custody is the safest place for Richard Allen. My ass. That is the least secure, the least uncorrupted place anybody should be held prior to being convicted. When time and time and time again, even 2023, there has been corrupt individuals within IDOC correctional staff that have been proven to have ties and operations back to this drug ring time and time again. Just because you get one doesn't mean there's 5 others. It's very lucrative on a few $100s. Hey, bring me a cell phone, I'd give you $500. It's more than they make a day. At times, depending on their role, what their job is, it's more than what they can make in a week. On, oh, just bringing this in, or bring me this, and I'll give you this amount. It's more than they can make in like a month sometimes, depending on what they're bringing in and the amount of what they're bringing in. But it still makes me wonder where, and I've wondered about this whole time, knowing as much as they had on Gabe Ellis prior to Delphi, his little Sons of Odin operation, individuals involved in and around that, why has state and local, like KPD and Indiana State Police, the last live I did, broke their backs to protect, hide Gabe Ellis? Nothing to look at, nothing to see here. We're going to hide this under the rug. Wasn't expecting me to do it live like I was. I got tired of them hiding shit, covering shit up. And I was able to finally expose that to the point where after that 2018 video, there was over 2 dozen KPD officers took early retirement, jumped ship after that video. Well, I was physically attacked by former Chief Robert Baker, physically threatened by the same fat, low life, donut eating, coffee sipping, fat ass Robert Baker. You are nothing but a fat, low life, degenerative fuck, Robert Baker. Sitting behind your chair saying, if I was such a good snitch, why aren't they doing anything? Well, guess what? It's coming. Just a matter of time. And I'm thinking why it's been such a pain in the ass getting anything done, anything looked at. Why has it been such a pain in the ass? And I'm sitting here thinking, if there was a federal informant that was involved in more than one case, and looking back to Gabe's roles and how he got off on some major issues like IDOC, and this has been public knowledge, and individuals in and around this drug ring have been talking about this for years. I think it's more than him just being a local snitch, like for the local drug task force, but yet being allowed back around the drugs. I guarantee you, you give him a matter of a few months when he gets out, if he's allowed to get to the streets, he's going to get right back into dealing, right back into the meth, right back into the money. Then when he starts getting busted for this or busted for that, he's going to roll here, roll there, knowing he can go back to doing exactly what he did before. Nothing to see here. But it makes me wonder on the real reason why they don't want to bust Gabe Ellis on more than one missing murdered case is his role. They could have prevented more than one case on from right within somebody they were using as an informant, as a witness on more than one drug case. Instead of looking away, if they would have looked towards him I feel more than one life would have been prevented from being lost. This is why I was let go as an informant myself. When I was seeing lives being taken by Gabe Ellis and his ring, and I'm speaking up over the agent that was above me, begging to be heard for another child's life to be saved instead of taken, and to see another child and another 19 children's lives taken by this ring, and you have an agent that knows exactly, and now it seems that they know more. Like I've said from the very beginning, I feel they know more than enough that could end this operation years ago. It's too lucrative. They're making too much money, and they're barely hitting anybody in this drug ring. If they really wanted to hit this drug ring and end it in its entirety, then why aren't you using what Boone County did? Every dealer, their drugs behind murder and missing cases on these murders, like they did in the Boone County Deputy Pickett's case. Look that case up. What they end up doing was they used the Boone County Deputy's Pickett death, and they did more than one dealer, including the dealer that shot him and killed him. Their drugs, their dealing was behind a murder. And they pinned more than one dealer for what? Murder. If it's all about getting this drug ring, operations against this drug ring hit, then do so in full. Not just pick around, not just choose what you want to do and who you want to do it on. Do it in full. Family or not. Get every dealer. Don't pick and choose on what you want to and what you don't want to attack, go towards, go after. And if it involves individuals that you worked with, FBI and feds, how about you own up to your mistakes? Were they actively taking lives as an informant for you? And mistakes over things overlooked? Is that why you're afraid of getting exposed and seen? Where all it took was one agent to speak up on, hey, I think there's something going on here. Something's wrong. I've seen it as my informant myself. You've got an agent knowing intel that could prevent the loss of life. Same thing I was asked as a Joint Terrorism Task Force informant myself to keep from happening, the loss of life. If we could prevent it, then by God, we could try. But when you have individuals like Michael Curtis, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, federal agent, knowing intel, sitting on intel, refusing to act on intel, it's no better than, like I said in the appendix video, Larry Nassar 2.0, only worse. Instead of sexually exploited uh, underage girls, you've got murdered victims, young and old alike, over, what was it, about 90 cases across 10 different states. This same drug operation has been shown in and around multiple cases across 10 different states for a fact. Individuals tied back to Indiana's cartel drug operation right here in Indiana. When you have individuals showing Nevada missing killed cases, you've got Kentucky, other states. I can show these cases go back to this same issue, and I've got Indiana not Indiana, but Indianapolis Metro PD officer Garland Odell Cooper in writ, where he's admitting to ties and connections back to this same drug operation and Karina and Delphi, is showing around in cases missing and murdered in Indianapolis. You've got an IMPD officer admitting to this in writ. There is ties and connections that even IMPD is allowing to be tied and connected back to names and connections back to this operation, both Karina and Delphi. Silence. And just like Anna's saying, nobody believes you, and we're going to make sure it stays that way. If you want justice for these children, then why do you want to make sure an individual is not believed and it's going to make sure to stay that way? Hmm? It really makes me wonder, if you want justice so bad for your daughter, her friend, then why do you want to make sure a certain individual is being threatened? You're laughing beside Liggett making threats to me using his badge, his powers illegally against me on a phone call while you're laughing, not upset, mind you, not crying, but laughing, pushing, egging him on in a phone call with me, then to bring up, do I need to make him give you another phone call? Anna, do you not realize I recorded that phone call with him where you're laughing on the other end? Do you want me to let that out before trial? Where you're laughing when Liggett is making threats of illegally using his badge and his powers to silence me, when only thing I'm asking is the drug ring, the ties and connections back to your own daughter? I've got the messages where you yourself are admitting that you used to be a user yourself. But I've got the recorded conversation where it can, clear as day, loud and clear, you can hear Anna Williams laughing, not crying, not upset, laughing, with Liggett making threats to me. Oh, he didn't threaten you. Well, guess what, honey? I've got the recorded conversation that backs me up. I know what was said. I know the threats that were made. And you didn't think, oh, Indiana, one side law? I didn't take the law into my advantage and document everything. Along the way, I've done nothing but, you realize I've had from, like, you have the KPD detective. Oh, if you're having problems with your agent above you, you need to go see here. The Inspector General's office, I've been there. Attorney General's office, been there. Nothing we can do for you. You got to go see this person or go talk to this person. I've been from one to the other, from this office to this office, from this office to this office, and done nothing but tossed around from this person to this person, from this office to this office, from this agency to this agency. Until a point I finally had enough where I finally talked to a federal lawyer. The federal lawsuit that's about to come out and what it's going to pertain against Carroll County, Howard County, the FBI, Indiana State Police. There's more than one lawsuit about to happen, and this I'm going to make sure happens before the trial. More than one lawsuit is going to happen, and in these lawsuits, you're going to have individuals where I'm going to have the full recorded conversation where you're having a legal operation where a badge member, a deputy behind a badge, is threatening to use his powers of that badge to silence me illegally. And you have a mother that's supposed to be on all these talk shows, upset, cried, crying, upset, but laughing. I'm going to go through and I'm actually going to sit through on this recording with Liget's conversation with me. And I'm going to pick out a few moments in here where you can literally hear Anna Williams laughing, pushing, egging him on to keep going. And I need to shut the fuck up. Nobody believes you. And it's going to stay that way, Anna. Well, how about the real truth? The real truth is let known and shown and heard for all. That isn't so camera friendly.